So in the last module, we discussed how the fundamental rights given in the chapter 1 of the Constitution of Pakistan 1973 are linked with social policies. How social policies can be justified based on the fundamental rights given in the Constitution. Now we come to chapter 2, which is the principles of policy. So how principles of policies are different from fundamental rights? Actually, principles of policies are different from not only fundamental rights, but all the other articles from in the Constitution. Because principles of policy are not something which you can argue that government should have done that. You can't take the government or the state to the courts for not implementing or doing the principles of policy. These are more like suggestions and recommendations which government should do, but if it doesn't have money, if there are international arguments which forbid the government from doing that, if there is a danger of social unrest because of these policies, then government can argue that we are not going to do it. These kind of arguments cannot be made in case of fundamental rights. The fundamental rights have to be implemented. The principles of policy are more like, as I said before, recommendations. But the Constitution says that government should try to do it. And every year the president of the country should put forward a report that how much the government has done to implement these policies. So what are these policies and how they are linked with the social policies? So the principles of policy, the first principle of policy is promotion of Islamic way of life. So Article 31. So of course these can be linked with the education. So if you want to implement this Article 31, you start giving Quranic lessons to the children in schools, or you make a law that every school should have these Quranic lessons. You can also make a law on the basis of these principles of policy that Arabic should be taught, or you can also make a law that all the different schools they should have competition based on which school is better in promoting the Islamic way of life. So one way of linking the social policy with the principles of policy in the Constitution. Article 32, it asks for the promotion of local government. So this article was in the Constitution because of the fact that local government was not something which was present in the Constitution, and it was kind of a recommendation that provincial governments should have local governments if they want. So if they cannot, that's okay. But after the 18th Amendment, which we will discuss later on in some future modules, in 2010, Article 140A was added, and on the basis of that, local government was made part of the Constitution in a way that now governments cannot get away with it without establishing a local government. So when after 2010, the different provincial governments, KP and Punjab and Sindh and Balochistan, everybody tried to delay elections of the local government because the provincial governments didn't want to give their power to the local governments, share power to the local governments. So they didn't want to have local governments. But because it became a part of the Constitution, the Supreme Court forced them to have these elections, and now provincial governments cannot get away with it. Article 33 and 34 is linked to discouraging prejudices and encouraging women participation and empowerment. So again, something which government should do, and it's a good thing to do, but if they cannot do it, it's okay. But over the years, government has tried to improve the women participation in the public sphere. Article 35 and 36 relate to protection of family and minorities. Again, this is linked to many different policies. Policies related to health. So if Pakistan is a country where maternal mortality rate and child mortality rate is very high. So based on this principle of policy, we can argue that government should put more money into it to decrease these two rates. Article 37, promotion of social justice and eradication of social evils. Again, it's linked to many different social policies, for example, health and education. So on the basis of this principle of policy, government can ban smoking because it is against the health of the country, of the people. Then Article 38, promotion of social and economic well-being. So this is a very comprehensive article. All the social policies can be justified. Health, education, justice, housing, all these policies can be justified on the basis of this article. Article 39 is participation of people in armed forces, and Article 40 is strengthening the bond with the Muslim world. So it is not related to social policies, but it is part of the principles of policy. Thank you.